I want to talk a little more about this Duett before I get too far into it. Let's see. I haven't done a lot to this car yet. I've jacked up the top a little bit. It was caved in much more than this. This car was rolled, I think, on every side somehow, judging from the back doors and the front bumper. I think it was flipped head over heels and landed on a side. But all the doors work, and I'm gonna jack it out so I can use it. I don't really care a lot how it looks. I'm okay with it. The motor runs so good that the car is worth saving. But this car did sit for 40 years since it was rolled, and I'll show you what I've done and what I'm fixing to do. I bought a new battery for it that fits. This car's been converted to 12 volts. It's also been converted from the original B16 motor to a B20, which is good because it's a lot more power, it's a lot tougher. Parts are a lot easier to get. The B20 engine ran till 1975. So mechanical parts on this will not be hard. As no doubt it needed a brake master cylinder. So I pulled that. On the Volvo Duett, the brake master cylinder is hard to get at. It's way down here, practically under the starter. But the cool thing these days with the internet, it's an easy part to find. I got it off Amazon for $49. So I got a new master cylinder. And I expect I'll have to do all the wheel cylinders and all the flexible brake lines. But for now, I'm going to put in the master cylinder and bleed it out and probably break off all the bleed valves and go from there. But I don't have high hopes for anything. Any rubber part in a car that's 40, 50 years old is shot and should be replaced. That includes brake lines, front end bushings, etc. I cleaned out the inside of the car. It was full of trash. And you can see how I've been jacking up the top of the Ford AA jack. Those are wonderful jacks. The wiring's going to be a nightmare in this, as I mentioned in a previous video. These cars are cool, really spacious. The inside of this is really big. Be fun to camp in. This is going to be my new highway car, I think. I'll show you what's cool about a Duett. I've had a lot of Volvo 544s and 122s and P1800s and stuff, but I always wanted one of these. And what makes this car unique is this very rigid frame. The Volvo Duett is the only Volvo to have that. It's got leaf springs in the back. It's a really heavy-duty box frame under this car. And the cool thing about this car, even though it's been sitting in the weeds for 40 years, the floors are solid. Seemingly, there's no holes under here. So all the bolts are rusty from surface rust, which is a pain, but everything is coming apart, and I don't see any rust holes anywhere. So it's going to be an ugly car, but I think it's going to be solid. You can see the leaf spring suspension. Because this car was converted to a B20, I suppose, I noticed the rear end in the car is not for a 445. It's from a 544. So I'm going to have to find the right kind of brake cylinders for that. Another cool thing about these cars, if I grease it up, there's almost no rubber bushings in here to be rotten. Just the lower arm bushings. So the front end is pretty easy to get tight on this. I will have to do shocks. These might be impossible to find. On the 544, they are impossible to find. if that's true, I will modify it somehow so I can buy a common shock absorber for it. Other than that, I haven't done much. Tonight I'm going to do the master cylinder. I did buy tires for it. These 165/15 tires are getting hard to find, unless you get online, and then I got decent tires for $50 a piece. Had those mounted up, so once I get brakes up and electrical working, tires on it, I should be able to drive this around. Gonna have to have some glass cut for the windshield and the window back there that's missing. But this is a fun little project. I like cars like this where I'm not fixing to restore it. I don't restore cars. I'm fixing to make it a solid driver on a budget.